On today's show, we continue a series that's probably going to go on for quite a bit. What's life going to look like without Jimmy Butler? A name that's now been brought up per Anthony Slater that the Warriors are targeting, Trey Murphy. Would it make sense? Mike Loginoff on the show.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
What are they going to say now?
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How we feeling, everyone? Welcome to the Locked On Warriors. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are free. We are available. You can catch us on YouTube and wherever you get your audio podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour. It's every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm the host of the show. My name's Charlie Walter. Mike Loginoff joins the program. And for the longest time, as a Golden State Warriors podcaster, as a CBS Sports host in San Francisco, as a 95.7 The Game host in San Francisco, the talk has always been Jonathan Kuminga. I mean, for a guy that has never made an all-star game, for a guy that's, never even really been one of the top three players on your team for the most part, he seems to dominate the conversation and the discourse a lot in the Bay Area. We're going to talk about him today. We're going to get into Trey Murphy. Obviously, Kuminga would probably go out the door if the Warriors were to target Murphy, and it sounds like they're at least keeping an eye on him. What's life going to be like without Jimmy Butler? We got a lot of Kolsky's opinion on it yesterday. We'll now ask the former collegiate basketball player, St. Ignatius in the city, Mike Loginoff, the pride of San Mateo, and played his college basketball at Colby College over on the East Coast. Mike, man, it's been a minute. I haven't really had a chance to get your thoughts on Jimmy Butler, but I think you were in the same camp as me, man. Jimmy, you got to feel terrible for him. He was awesome. And to all the Heat fans that popped into the show from time to time and said, like, you'll see the pain that Jimmy Butler provides and kind of just the selfishness that he brings to the fold, that never came at all.
Yeah, no, it's a travesty and a tragedy to lose Jimmy, especially in the way that the Warriors did. Didn't even get a full calendar year with him on the squad. Him and Steph together won 70% of their games. And the Warriors really started to figure out a winning formula since December 18th when they won 12 out of 16 games. And so, I mean, and even there's a couple of those games too, like the Clippers game, which I think we did a post-game show for, and, a missed Gary Payton goaltending call. They win that game. Maybe that's 13-3. If they don't blow that game in Toronto, maybe they're 14-2, right? And so they had a couple of additional winnable games, and the Warriors really were turning a corner. So it comes at it's never a good time to lose one of the best players on your team. And, by the advanced metrics, one of the top 15 guys in the NBA probably this season, depending on how you cut it and cut the data. So never a good time to do that. And just a big time bummer for, I think, all of Warriors fans to watch Jimmy go down. He was really starting to, leave a mark on this franchise and on this last chapter in Steph's career, on his ability to really bring together that second unit. I mean, gosh, watching that first half last night and seeing, how it was just like watching chickens with their heads cut off out there trying to get the ball to go through the hoop, and really just allows you to see Jimmy's true impact and, the way he was able to bring that team together and to help lead that team alongside guys like Steph and Draymond. So just a tragedy. Really hope Jimmy heals up well and is able to play well again and at a high level, whether that's in a Warriors uniform or elsewhere.
I think when Jonathan Kuminga got DMPs for a month straight, I think the hypothesis from you, from me, from everyone else was that he's going to be traded as soon as he's eligible, and that the experimentation with the former number 7 overall pick would be over. Butler gets hurt, and Steve Kerr immediately says, yeah, we'd consider playing him. He's said that many times before. He hasn't played him many times before, but this time it just felt a little bit different because he doesn't really have a choice. Like, they need someone that can score. Jonathan Kuminga can score. Steve Kerr's logic was always he doesn't fit with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler played in almost every single game for the Warriors, which is why you didn't see a ton of Kuminga per him. I mean, could he have played in non-Jimmy Butler minutes? Could he have at least mopped up some minutes to keep the legs fresh with 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter? Sure, make whatever argument you want. But now all of a sudden, playing Kuminga makes a little more sense. But long term, can they fix this? Like, Joe Lacob clearly intends on somehow making this work, or he would be gone, you would think. Or maybe it's what Mike Dunleavy said. There's no market. In order to have demands, you have to have demand. That sort of thing. It's just an overall terrible situation that has undermined some pretty decent basketball teams. I mean, last year was a good season, and the discourse in the playoffs, even on these shows sometimes in the Rocket series, was bitching about Kuminga and the DNPs all the time. After you win Game 7 in Houston, it's like, what are we doing? It's frustrating. Frankly, I want what's best for the Golden State Warriors. If that's Kuminga coming out and popping off and making my rookie relic patch auto to number 5 an expensive card, I'll absolutely take it. If not, you hope you can get someone for him. Trey Murphy's a name that's been brought up. But first of all, let's dissect this thing one by one. Jonathan Kuminga returning to the lineup. Do you think that there's any chance that this thing can be salvaged?
I mean, Chuck, here's a couple of quick responses. Is one, Jonathan wasn't playing because the Warriors were probably trying to keep him healthy before the trade deadline. Jimmy's now hurt. Of course, he's going to get inserted into the lineup. But people who are saying that, oh, well, look, he scored, 20 points in 21 minutes or however much it was last night. Oh, look, Steve Kerr's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing, yada, yada, yada. Ever since Steve Kerr benched him, the Warriors won 75% of their games. So I don't know. Seems like a winning formula to me on that front. But yes, he did come into the game and play well last night. Had that electrifying alley-oop and a couple of nice and ones. And that's, kind of the Kuminga cycle. He'll do that and then he won't. And so do I think this is salvageable? No, I don't. I don't think that Steve Kerr necessarily mismanaged the situation like Kolsky said. And according to Kolsky, and, we can do the 3-man weave soon enough, but according to him, I'm an idiot and a liar because I don't think.
No, you're one of the two.
Yeah, I'm one of the two. And so I think that Jonathan has just made the choice to not play the way the Warriors needed him to. He did it for the first 5 games of the season, and I applauded him. And you can go back and listen to the tape. I did it. I said this is a new version of him, and then he regressed. Right.
Well, I think he got hurt. Didn't he get hurt for a couple games there? And
before the Spurs back to back, or not back to back, but the baseball series. But even before that, prior on that road trip, he started regressing, shooting contested mid-range jump shots. I think he was shooting about 28% from the field.
It was the second half of the Sacramento game because he went off in that first half. Remember, it was the game where Will Richard went for 30, and he was awesome in the first half. And it makes me wonder, like, how much of it is just a confidence factor with him. Because you saw it in the first half that he played yesterday. He was kind of timid. He wasn't really looking for a shot. He was just kind of bringing it up the floor, picking up his dribble, looking for someone to give it to. And then in the second half, when he had nothing to lose, it was like he just went out there and balled. So you wonder how much of it with him is truly just the mental game and whether he would go somewhere else and flourish. Like, I truly don't know. I think he definitely has some talent.
Can I give you the player's perspective here? I know I played college ball and I never reached the professional level, but I was a quasi-rotational guy my freshman and sophomore year in college. In and out of the rotation, in and out of the rotation, in and out of the rotation. Some games I would play 15 or 20 minutes off the bench. Some games I wouldn't play at all, right? And so when you talk about confidence, that does affect the player's confidence. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that having a short leash does not affect confidence. It does. But it's also a mental switch that you make. And so when one of our best players, who was a walking 20 and 12, tears his MCL, and then I'm inserted into the starting lineup in my junior year as we're in the middle of conference play, I had the chance to make the choice, Am I going to go start now and play not to mess up? Or am I going to go in there and choose to play well and choose to play confidently and to win the game and play winning basketball? And so it's a choice that you make, and it is a flip that you can switch. And once you flip that switch, the way you approach the game at every single level and at every single moment of play changes. And so my point is that, Jonathan has had his chances to develop that confidence. He's been in the rotation. And, if he just made the conscious choice to go in there and to play the way the Warriors wanted him to, like he did the first 5 games of the season, he would be in the rotation this entire season. But he's chosen not to do that. It's an active choice. And so going back, though, to your original question, because I admittedly derailed us a little bit here. This is a lightning rod topic for me and the rest of Warriors commentators and analysts out there. But I don't think this is salvageable, right? And I think part of the issue, too, is this enamorment that I think Warriors ownership has regarding Jonathan Kuminga because he makes some splashy, fancy, high-flying athletic plays. I get it. It's energizing. It's fun. But you know what we could call him is empty-calorie Kuminga because, you look at him in that Timberwolves series, didn't get the job done. You look at him against Sacramento when he was meant to be leading that young unit to go and win that game, couldn't do that, one of the worst teams in basketball. And so, if these people want to give, and these people being part of Dub Nation, part of other commentators, heck, people that we have on the show like Kolsky who are enamored with Jonathan Kuminga, the team doesn't win when he plays. And so ultimately, yes, there is an asset there. He's young. He's talented. We've seen what he can do. But he's made choices to not contribute the way the Warriors want him to. And then also, too, to think about what Dunleavy's saying in that pregame presser regarding, oh, well, if you want to demand a trade, there has to be demand. Part of me also thinks, and maybe I'm giving Dunleavy the benefit of the doubt here because he has made some good transactions, right? He got Jimmy basically for Andrew Wiggins in a first-round pick and a poo-poo platter of salary filler. He brought on Al Horford. He brought back D'Anthony Melton. He's drafted pretty well in the second round with Quentin Post and then with Will Richard. And also Brandon Pajemski's had a solid NBA career. And so if we want to give Dunleavy the benefit of the doubt here, which, I wish they would have capitalized on this window of Steph's career more than they have. But maybe he's saying that because then you'll get some more interest and some offers of GMs calling and saying, well, if no one's interested, maybe I can get Jonathan on the cheap. And then if you start getting different calls, then you can say, hey, Scott Perry, we're actually getting a call from Dallas now, and they're actually quite interested. And Dumont wants Kuminga. And so maybe then you can start playing people off of one another by drumming up that interest. So I don't know. It could be a bit of gamesmanship, but ultimately, I hope the Warriors move off of Kuminga. I hope that they're able to get him to a place where he can go and play and develop as a player because he does have talent. But, it's going to be a challenging needle to thread.
Straight ahead, Trey Murphy. What do we think about that deal? What does that deal look like? We'll discuss coming up on Locked on Dubs.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel's making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. It's your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. It's from Fridays, 6 to 7:30 Eastern. It's appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. You open the FanDuel app during Happy Hour, you see boosts, bonuses, and surprise weekly specials right before tip-offs. The timing is perfect right before the games, right before the weekend starts. Get a little extra energy going on your Friday night basketball slate. Check the FanDuel app, see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. It's a little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
And most importantly, he a dog.
We need more dogs.
What is the best case scenario if they don't start to tear this thing down piece by piece and instead throw their assets, draft capital, Moses Moody, Brandon Pajemski, Kuminga, whoever else they would trade, into win now players. Now, a name that's brought up is Trey Murphy. And Trey Murphy's young. He's 25. He's averaging 22 a game. He's someone that hits 50% from the floor. He's getting better. He has an opportunity to be a legit number 2 guy, maybe even develop into a number 1 guy on a really solid team. Like, he is a really, really good player that's just in a bad situation right now in New Orleans. What are your thoughts on pairing him up with Steph Curry as compared to the inconceivable, which is maybe asking Steph what he wants to do here and seeing what you could get in return for him potentially? Is that something that you even fathom being brought up, or is that just, no, it's impossible? Because obviously with Jimmy, it's a different story. Now that Jimmy is gone, I think we're all in the camp here that this season, unless they make some sort of a huge splash, you would think this season is a little bit cooked. And then you're talking about next year.
Yeah, I mean, Chuck, I think Trey Murphy is an ideal target. I think Trey Murphy was the ideal target when Jimmy was healthy. And if we're thinking about the calculus with Jimmy, I think that's when you can kind of you can wrap your arms and your mind around going for an MPJ, right? Because you're like, okay, well, we kind of got Jimmy who can lead the second unit. We need some scoring punch. Our defense has been great. Trey Murphy, I think now that Jimmy's out, are you willing to pay that higher asking price? I would have done it before. I would do it now still because he's 25 years old. He's averaging over 20 points a game, and he's an excellent defender. He's athletic. He increases your speed on the perimeter, your ability to knock down shots, your ability to create shots, and he's on an unbelievable contract, right? I don't think in the next 4 years he ever makes more than $30 million. And so I think you go for Trey Murphy. If those reports are true, that's incredibly encouraging because, as much as people would say I rag on Kuminga, if they trade him for DeMar DeRozan, I'm going to throw up in my mouth or throw up in a bowl and it's going to be awful. Okay. If that would be a horrendous move by Warriors management if they trade Jonathan Kuminga for DeMar DeRozan. If they trade him in some first round picks, maybe a little bit of filler here and there to get Trey Murphy, that's a different story because the other thing that I was talking about on KMBR is when you're acquiring these younger players who are still ascending, if you're worried about picks in the post-Steph era, like you can trade them.
You just turn that pick into Trey Murphy.
Yes, or you also too. The other thing is you're going to get you get new picks every year, right? But also too, Chuck, if Trey Murphy, let's say he stays with the Dubs, he's 28, he's averaging 25 a game. And being reliable and is an excellent 3-and-D player, you're telling me that then you can't flip him for, 3 firsts down the road to a contender? You definitely can, right? And so that's where I'm never a believer really in draft picks. My ideas are always win now, win now, win now. I think that the Warriors and just the thought of Steph leaving, that would have to come from Steph. I don't think Steph would ever say that. Frankly, deep down, I don't think Steph wants to go anywhere else. I don't think the Warriors want to see him go anywhere else. I don't think ownership or the front office really wants him to go anywhere else just from a business standpoint. With Trey Murphy, what's exciting about Trey is if you're able to actually pull that off, you can trot him out there with Steph and the current roster, assuming it's for Kuminga and picks and like maybe some random salary filler. You can trot Trey out there and think, okay, wow, the Warriors, this is still an interesting team, right? Because you got a great 3-and-D player in Trey Murphy. You still got Draymond to be the defensive anchor. I know he apparently can't make layups anymore, but you do have pieces. I put this out on Twitter, and it was funny because this was yesterday before Steve Kerr made his comments of, the thing is, this team's different than last year before Jimmy because we have Al. We have a Melton who's healthy and firing in all cylinders. Post has emerged as a reliable, eater of minutes at the center position. Will Richard has shown that he can play at the NBA level, and BP has really turned his season around the last month or so, right? And so this team is different from a roster construction standpoint as it was last year prior to the Jimmy trade. So if you put Trey Murphy next to Steph and the rest of the role players, is this team, do they have enough to at least play meaningful basketball, to use a terminology that Steph uses? I think yes. Are they going to be as good as they would have been if you were able to, drop in Trey Murphy or MPJ alongside of Jimmy as well? Definitely not, right? But it at least keeps the Warriors relevant this season. But the other thing, though, is I think what the Warriors are probably really thinking hard about is, what do you do with Jimmy? Do you move Jimmy now? Are you able to get off of Jimmy? Because ultimately, he's got 1.5 years left. He's basically an expiring contract. I think that is the move that if I could wave a wand, if they're able to get a Trey Murphy with Kuminga and an assortment of role players, can you then flip Jimmy for something else as well? Can you package them together to get a couple of different pieces in one, right? And so I think all options are on the table. I don't think they're trading Steph, though. That's the one that I would say is not realistically on the table.
I agree.
And I hope they don't. Just, as it may be, quote unquote, the best thing to do to try and get draft capital back and whatnot. But he's making, how much is Steph making? $62 million a year. You know what I mean? It's just financially, how are you going to really make that work and match those numbers with all the aprons and whatnot? Now it's just a different league. So I don't know. I think if they're able to make a move, do you take a swing and try and get your hands on an AD or something for Jimmy, right? Can you do that? And then maybe get some other pieces from the Mavs as well, if you throw in Kuminga. Or do you do something totally different? And this is what Marcus kind of got at a little bit on, plus minus when he was talking with Tim. He said, do you go for JJJ and Ja? Just from the standpoint of a couple of distressed assets. I wouldn't do that one, but I like the thought process. Is there a way that the Warriors can package Jimmy to try and get their hands on a guy that we've talked a lot about before, and a Zion and, maybe DeJounte Murray or something like that from the Pelicans? It's are there deals like that can be done where you get a little bit of a project back who's a young talent who's shown they can perform at a high level, helps you kind of bridge into the next generation post Steph, but if healthy can, be an impact player this season as well?
Can I just make it really loud and clear that, please, for the love of our show, for the love of Golden State Warriors basketball, don't trade Steph Curry. I'm just bringing it up from a hypothetical standpoint.
Yeah.
And, the GM, the questioning, the asset management, all these different things, because as Ricky Bobby said, if you're not first, you're last. And if you're not seriously in contention at that point, you're kind of just running Steph out there like Kobe in his final years with the Lakers, where the team wasn't really competitive, but obviously they weren't going to move Kobe, nor, would it have made sense for anyone else to get in on those sweepstakes. So yeah, if the Warriors can go out and somehow land Trey Murphy, he's not available. That's what we've been hearing. The Pelicans have no interest in moving him, but if they can somehow go out there and land him, then yeah, it makes things very intriguing, because you have another contract on the books in Jimmy Butler that if you attach draft picks to that as well, if you had any left over after the Trey Murphy trade, then you could bring in a couple dudes that could really retool this roster. And then the loss of Jimmy ends up just being basically what D'Anthony Melton was last year when he went out for the season, that ended up turning into Dennis Schroeder, which ended up turning into Jimmy Butler. Straight ahead, I saw on the trade machine a 3-team deal was executed successfully, and honestly, for all parties, kind of makes a little bit of sense. Would it make the Warriors better? Is it one that's realistic? We'll debate that coming up on Locked On Warriors.
Forget that. We champs. Why are you starting with that question? We got 4 championships.
Today's episode is brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest ways you can upgrade. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo. the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. I love how simple Quo makes everything. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number. That means nothing's going to get missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread. It makes replying faster and more personal. It works right from your phone to your computer, and they got smart AI tools that automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That is QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers.
Who can stop Steph Curry?
Hopefully, we'll never find out.
One of the trades that I saw that I sent you, and tell me if you're in for this, it would send Trey Murphy and Kobe White to the Warriors. The Bulls would get involved on this trade, and they would receive Jonathan Kuminga, Buddy Hield, and Trace Jackson Davis, and the Pelicans would get Brandon Pajemski, Gary Payton, Patrick Williams, and 3 first-rounders, 2 from the Warriors, 1 from the Bulls, and then 1 second-rounder from the Warriors. So the Warriors would keep one of their draft picks in that case, and they'd have Kobe White, they'd have Trey Murphy, they'd have no Brandon Pajemski, but they'd still have Moses Moody. They'd still have a lot of their young talent like Post and Richard, and they'd have Trey Murphy. Like, what would that do for you?
I mean, I think it's intriguing because you're kind of upgrading pods with Kobe White. You're getting a true bucket getter. You're getting a 3-and-D guy like Trey Murphy. Your starting lineup is probably Steph, DeAnthony or Kobe, Trey Murphy, Draymond, and Quentin Post. Off the bench, you have Will. You got Moody. You got Horford, Gee for some energy. You know, it's like you got enough guys there. I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting. I think, you know, if the Warriors can net Trey Murphy with that, I think you do it. Because I just think Trey Murphy is a really good young ascending player that you can flip later on too. And, you know, his ability to catch and shoot and create and get to the rim and his athleticism is exciting. And Kobe White is just a bucket getter, which is something the Warriors have proven they need. They just need someone, because Kobe White's a similar sort of archetype as a Malik Monk in my view, of just like, you can just kind of fill it up, and the Warriors just need that. And so, I mean, that at least makes the team, it'll be a fun watch, I think, right? Like they may not go deep in the playoffs, but it'd be a fun watch. And if they still are able to hold on to Jimmy and he comes back next season, then that's something that's intriguing, because what I really hope doesn't happen is that like the Warriors trade Kuminga for some crappy veteran like DeRozan. I mean, DeRozan's not crappy, but you know what I mean? It's just like, that's a crappy trade. Warriors lose that trade.
It's not going to move the needle.
It's not going to move the needle. And then you got Jimmy coming off a torn ACL. And you got DeMar DeRozan. I mean, then we're really talking about the Golden State Warriors and, you know, the geriatric Dubs. It's just like that is just something I really hope doesn't happen. But like, if the move is for someone like a Trey Murphy right now, who, you know, I valued more than MPJ previously, but now I just think the MPJ trade doesn't work, that Jimmy's hurt. It's just like, doesn't do enough for the team. But if the front office says we're going to get Trey Murphy and we're going to hold on to Jimmy, hope he can come back and be, you know, still a reliable 30 minutes a game guy come playoff time. Because, I mean, look at Melt. He's had a great season. He's also 10 years younger than Jimmy. But, like, if Jimmy can be still, like, a third option that's a reliable pair of hands that can get to the free throw line, run a second unit, get guys open, create advantages, then that's a strategy that I can get my head around and I would be okay with. But if it's trading Kuminga for an old dude who's not really going to be a value add this year or next, God, that would just be a terrible outcome.
Makes you wonder what they're gonna do, man. We got
Giannis, of course, right?
what
Giannis.
4 weeks, less than 4 weeks to make a decision here. It's
It-
deadline's
it-
coming up, man.
Yeah, isn't the deadline? I think, hold on, Chuck. I think it's like in 15, 16 days.
3 weeks. I mean, less than 3 weeks, man. Forget 4 weeks, less than 3 weeks. The Warriors are gonna have to make some decisions. They're gonna have to figure out the future of not only this season, but what they're gonna do next year. Because
February 5th.
whatever decision they make this year is going to essentially be for next year to a certain degree. I mean, they're thinking a year ahead.
Yep.
You would have to imagine the Trey Murphy move is all right. Trey Murphy is a part of the Warriors moving forward for years. You know, if they go out and don't do anything, that tells you that maybe they want to get into the Giannis sweepstakes over the summer and Joe Lacob's holding out, you know, or it means they're actually holding on to Jimmy Butler and they're, you know, not doing anything with his contract and they're just going to wait for him to rehab. And their plan is to interject him next season and hopefully get that spark when they're playing pretty decent basketball. And then I guess another plan would just be wait and see for 5-6 more games, see how this team looks together right now and how much you potentially need. But I think the only thing that is off the table, talking to everyone about it and just throwing the scenario out there of testing the market with Steph Curry and seeing what you could get in return. It seems like everyone is in favor of just hell no, let's not do that.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the Giannis sweepstakes, I mean, we've talked about that. We talked about it last week, actually, I think. And it seems like there might be a little bit of smoke rising in Milwaukee. And I think, you know, the reason why I say that is just Giannis's comments of late of, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be here by the end of the year. You know, I take it day by day. You know, that's one of the more poignant statements that Giannis has made in recent memory. He typically tends to just kick things down the road and say, you know, oh, I want to be a Buck for life, or, you know, I've given everything, I never want to leave, you know, and that's admirable. But ultimately, it seems like there's a little bit of it feels like there could be something real there. I hope they don't hold out hope for Giannis over the summer. Like, I hope they make a move now, because that's just a little bit too far into the unknown and into the future for me. You know, none of us have a crystal ball, but you know, you hope that. I mean, if Giannis becomes available, then yeah, send everything. You know, and now you got Jimmy as well, right? That you can trade. Like, if Giannis is actually available, then it's like a no-brainer. But again, there's so many dominoes that need to fall to have that become a reality that's why I haven't even brought it up until the end of the show now, because I just don't see that actually happening. I don't see something like AD happening. You know, if they made a move like that, just because Jimmy's, you know, 60 million of dead cash now, I would understand it, you know, but let's see, man. I mean, Trey Murphy, if they get him, I'd be a very, very, very happy Warriors fan.
One day at a time. Keep your eyes open, keep your ears. What do you keep your ears? Locked in, open?
Locked on, Chuck, locked on.
Keep your ears locked on the news, because something's coming in the next few weeks. Something is indeed coming. Mike Loginoff, thank you for joining the program today. This is Locked On Warriors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'll see you.